The painting you're about to see took 20 years to complete. The artist who painted this work began it in 1871 and completed it in 1891, the same year he died. Antonio Ciseri spent the last 2 decades of his life working on it, perfecting every face, every fold of fabric, and every shadow until the end of his days. This is considered his masterpiece, and more than 150 years later, it is still regarded as one of the greatest religious works ever painted. This work is called Ecce Homo. It was painted by the Swiss-Italian artist Antonio Ciseri between 1871 and 1891, and today is held at the Gallery of Modern Art in the Pitti Palace in Florence. The scene comes directly from the Gospel of John. Jesus has been arrested, interrogated, and scourged, and now Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor of Judea, presents him to the crowd under the Latin expression Ecce Homo, which in English means "behold the man." This is the moment when the fate of Christ is placed in the hands of the crowd, the exact instant in which the people must decide whether Jesus lives or dies. This episode has been painted hundreds of times throughout the history of art. Artists like Caravaggio, Titian, Rembrandt, and even Bosch painted it. Practically every great master confronted this scene, but they all painted it the same way, with Christ facing forward, showing his suffering face to the viewer. But Ciseri did exactly the opposite. In this work, we do not see the face of Christ. The artist places us behind him. We see his scourged back, his bound hands, his head crowned with thorns slightly bowed. But his face, the central element of the entire Ecce Homo tradition, is denied to us completely. By placing us behind Christ, Ciseri turns us into something more than spectators. He turns us into witnesses. We see what he sees: the crowd shouting for his death, the Roman soldiers, the city of Jerusalem stretching toward the horizon, and for a moment, he makes us feel as if we were standing exactly where he stands. Pilate's face is also hidden from us. We see him leaning forward over the balustrade, dressed in his elegant Roman toga, gesturing toward the condemned man. And yet, among all the figures on that balcony, his is the only face Ciseri did not even hint at. And that decision carries a powerful meaning, because Pilate is remembered by history as the man who washed his hands, the man who had the power to stop an injustice and instead handed the decision to the crowd, and Ciseri portrays him exactly as he behaved, as a man who, at the most important moment of his life, chose not to show his face. The composition of this painting is built like a theatrical stage. The Roman architecture, the marble columns, and even the throne of Pontius Pilate are painted with almost archaeological precision. Let us remember that Ciseri spent 20 years painting this work, dedicating entire years to studying the architecture, the clothing, and the objects of 1st century Judea, so that every element of the scene would be historically believable. When we look at this painting, it feels as if we were looking at a photograph rather than a painting. And this also has an explanation. Ciseri worked in the era of the birth of photography, and historians point out that his style was deeply influenced by this new medium. But within all the precision of this painting, there is one figure that concentrates all the emotion of the work, and it is not Christ nor Pilate, but the woman on the right. This woman's face is the most visible in the entire painting. While Christ and Pilate have their backs to us, she is the only main figure whose face we can see clearly. This woman is Claudia Procula, the wife of Pontius Pilate. According to the Gospel of Matthew, while Pilate was sitting in the judgment seat during the trial of Jesus, his wife sent him an urgent message warning him to have nothing to do with that righteous man, because she had suffered a great deal that day in a dream because of him. A dream had warned her of what was about to happen, and she knew her husband was about to condemn an innocent man. In the painting, Ciseri depicts her walking away from the scene, leaning on the shoulder of her young maid, unable to keep watching. She is richly dressed, as befits the wife of the governor of Judea, but all her wealth and all her position are of no use to her, because although she knows Jesus is innocent, she also knows she cannot save him. Now, although we have already seen why this work is considered Ciseri's masterpiece, you may be wondering why it took him so long to paint it, since 20 years may seem like too much for a single painting. But before answering that question, I would like to remind you that if you would like to have this work in your collection, you can now purchase it from our catalogue. In the link in the description, you will find more than 1,000 carefully selected historical works so you can buy your favorites and begin your art collection in your own home. Shipping is free worldwide, and by purchasing from the store, you will be supporting me enormously in continuing to create videos like this every week. As I was saying, the reason Antonio Ciseri took 20 years to paint this work is because he was an extreme perfectionist. He was a man trained in the academic tradition of Florence, and his contemporaries described him as a painter of Raphaelesque precision with almost photographic effects. Each of his works went through years of preparatory studies, sketches, corrections, and refinements. But in the case of the Ecce Homo, there was something more. This work was commissioned by the Italian government in 1871, when Ciseri was already 50 years old and one of the most respected religious painters in Europe. At that point, this was, in many ways, the commission of his life, and also the opportunity to create his definitive work. During the 2 decades following the commission, while painting portraits of kings and distinguished figures to earn a living, he kept returning to this painting again and again, adjusting the light, refining the garments of his protagonists, and perfecting every detail of a scene he wanted to be unsurpassable. Antonio Ciseri died in March 1891 in Florence with the work just completed. The Ecce Homo was the final point of his career and the last image of an entire life dedicated to painting. Something worth mentioning is that this work measures almost 4 meters wide by 3 meters tall, making it a monumental piece and the largest of his entire career. However, I would love to know your opinion on whether you think dedicating 20 years to a single painting is excessive, or if on the contrary, you believe it is natural for an artist to turn their masterpiece into a lifelong work. I will be reading your opinions in the comments. As always, thank you for watching the video until the end, and I will see you in the next video.